I'm Riya Gandhi and welcome back to my channel. As you already know, we are halfway through the month of April and UGC NET English exam will possibly be in the month of June. So you've got around a month or so for its preparation. Now, either you have started preparing for this particular exam and you're consistently at it for months now, or let's face it, you are scrambling to even get started right now. And everybody around you is telling you that no, it's too late right now. But is it? Is 30 days enough to actually crack UGC NET English? I'm here to tell you that it might just be possible. And no, I'm not here to provide you the generic study harder advice because I know that's not really helpful. In this video, I'm going to provide you the actual 30-day plan that works. So, grab your notes and stick around till the end of this video. Now, before we start, let's address the biggest question that you might be having right now. Can anyone really do this in 30 days? Well, here's the deal. If you are starting out or you're procrastinating for a while, your chances of clearing NET in 30 days depends on a variety of factors. First of all, your background matters. If you have done your bachelor's and master's in English literature, then you are already familiar with the UGC NET English syllabus. Your basics are clear, your foundation is clear. So during preparation, you just need to brush up on these basics and then shift your focus and attention towards other important and frequently asked areas. However, if you are not coming from a literature background or if you are not familiar with the UGC NET syllabus or you haven't touched these topics in a while, then you know you'll have to move a bit faster. Second, how much time would you be able to dedicate on a daily basis? In order to understand this, take a quick look at your daily routine. Do a quick survey over your daily routine and understand whether do you have any work commitments, professional commitments, or are you currently studying somewhere? Ideally and realistically, you should be able to give at least 5 hours a day, especially when you're just a month or so away from UGC NET English exam. However, if you are only able to squeeze in 2 or 3 hours a day based on your work commitments or your educational commitments, then it is going to be a bit tough. Finally, commitment is the key. Understand, guys, that 30 days isn't like a magical fix. You have to show up every day, you have to be consistent, you have to be committed to whatever you are doing. If you are focused, if you are organized and strategic, then yes, it is possible. Now, before you begin your preparation for UGC NET exam, especially the last minute preparation, let's talk about the mistakes that you definitely need to avoid. What are they? The first one is reading each and every reference material or resource book. Now, when you're already too late to start, reading every reference material is not going to help you. I know it's very tempting to think that I should read every reference material cover to cover, reading each and every piece of information. But understand that you have already started late. If you start reading every reference material that is available, you are only going to get more confused. And you're not going to help yourself in your preparation. So what should you do in that case? Start by solving previous year question papers. When you start solving PYQs, you will realize that there are certain important and frequently asked topics. Make a list of all those topics and start your preparation by focusing on these high-yielding topics. Such topics basically include Shakespeare, Chaucer, modern age in English literature, post-colonialism in literary theories and criticism. All of these are pretty high-yielding topics which will definitely help you, especially in the long run. Another common mistake that a lot of UGC NET aspirants make, especially when they start too late, is that they will only focus on paper 2 and completely ignore paper 1. Now, this is one of the biggest mistakes that you will ever make. Remember that paper 1 is half of your exam. If you're not going to focus on paper 1 or you're going to skip preparing paper 1, you're going to cost yourself a lot of marks. Also remember that paper 1 has its own qualifying marks. If you don't cross that, or if you don't cross that cutoff, you're not going to qualify NET even if you have got really good marks in paper 2. So always remember this one thing, guys, that no matter whenever you start your preparation, you need to adjust your timetable in such a manner that you are providing equal time to both paper 1 as well as paper 2. There are a lot of other mistakes that you should avoid, especially when it comes to your last minute preparation of UGC NET exam. But for now, please keep these two things in mind. First, that you do not read each and every reference material, and second, you are also preparing paper 1. Alright, having said that, let's talk about the strategy. I'm going to break down to you the ultimate 30-day plan for both paper 1 and paper 2 in a way that it's actually doable even if you have been out of touch with literature for a while. Starting with the first week, which is what I called as the foundation phase. What are you going to do in this foundation phase? So if you are coming from a literature background, you're going to brush up your foundations. You're going to brush up your basics. If you're not coming from a literature background, you'll have to build your base. You'll have to build your foundation. So basically, you're going to start with British literature, which is the spine of UGC NET English exam. So in this first week, which is from day 1 to day 7, you're going to begin with British literature. Each day, you're going to take up 1 or 2 literary periods based on the time you're giving or based on your capacity. So you're going to start with the Anglo-Saxon age, then move on to the Renaissance. Within that, you're going to cover the Elizabethan age, the Jacobean age, the Caroline, the Interregnum, Restoration age, Romantic age, Victorian age, and then finally modern and postmodern age. Since the time is less, I would advise you to focus on the important writers, their works, the important themes and the major features of each and every era. At the same time, I would also advise you to focus on certain groups of poetry, schools of poetry, or certain cliques. For example, when we are talking about modern age, the most important group or the literary circle of friends was the Bloomsbury group. Again, you will find that very recently in the last UGC NET English paper, a question related to Bloomsbury group was asked. So focus on these small groups of poetry or schools of poetry as well. So how are you going to find out the important writers and their works? By solving previous year question papers. No matter where you are in your preparation, make a habit of solving PYQs. Keep 1 or 2 hours aside for solving PYQs because, as I've mentioned earlier in this video, it will provide you with a competitive edge. Now, based on the list of the important works and the important writers for each and every age, you can then move on and go forward with your preparation. Now that the foundation is in its place, let's branch out. The second week is basically for preparing literatures of other nations. So you have American literature. Within American literature, there are so many important categories like African American literature, right? Within that, you have Harlem Renaissance. Apart from that, you have the Transcendental Movement. Associated with it, you have important writers like Ralph Waldo Emerson, right? You have Walt Whitman, you have Edgar Allan Poe. All of these are very, very important writers. Next, you also need to focus on Indian English literature. Within Indian English literature, some important ages that you should focus on are Independence age, Post-Independence age, and finally, the Contemporary age. At the same time, you also have world literature, right? Writers like Kazuo Ishiguro, Margaret Atwood, Patrick White, and writers associated with Australian Aboriginal literature, they are frequently coming up in recent UGC NET English papers. So you also have to look out for them. I know it might seem too overwhelming, especially when you sit down to prepare for world literature, thinking that how am I supposed to read and understand and prepare about all of these writers? So here's a trick. What you can do is you can just look at the Nobel Prize winning authors, right? Then make a list of all the important ones and just take a quick glance of their works. That's going to be enough for you, right? Having done all of that, by the end of the second week, what you can do is you can take a quick quiz, right? You can do a quick self-assessment test for yourself, wherein you just try to understand how much do you know, how much have you retained from your British literature section, American literature section, Indian English literature, or for that matter, world literature. Taking this quick quiz will definitely help you in understanding where you are in your preparation, how much do you need to prepare, and how do you need to move forward in your later days or in your later preparation phases. Now with this, you're already 15 days into preparation. Now comes the most difficult part, the part that scares a lot of students and a lot of UGC NET aspirants, and that is literary theories and criticism. This is the week, the third week, which you will have to prepare intensively, right? So on the very first day, you're going to focus on literary criticism. That is, you're going to start with the major ideas provided by Plato, Aristotle, Longinus, right? As far as the other essays and other works of literary criticism are concerned, basically the works of Philip Sidney, Percy B. Shelley, John Dryden, or even for that matter T.S. Eliot, try to cover all their critical works during British literature itself, as in during your preparation of British literature itself in the very first week, because that will reduce a lot of burden on you, especially when you sit down to prepare for literary theories in the third week. Once you are clear with the power of literary criticism, especially with Aristotle's, Plato's, and Longinus's ideas, you can move on to the literary theories, starting with structuralism, post-structuralism, psychoanalysis, Marxism, post-colonialism, feminism, and then you have other important theories as well, like eco-criticism, new historicism, cultural materialism. Now I know that it might feel too overwhelming at the moment trying to retain all of these concepts at the same time, especially when they are so complex literary concepts. So what I don't want you to do is sit down and read the original essays of the theorists, right? Because they are filled with jargon, they constitute a lot of complex sentence structures which will only leave you confused. What I want you to focus on instead is, first, make a list of all the key features of the theories, right? Second, make a list of all the important theorists and their important theoretical terms. Because if you look at the previous year question papers, if you solve the PYQs, especially related to literary theories, you will realize that a majority of the questions related to literary theories is first related to the literary terms. Second, the major works, the important works of these theorists. So make sure that you're clear on these two things. Now with this done, we are finally reaching the last week. This is the final stretch. This week is all about paper 1 and revising whatever you have prepared for paper 2. So as far as the revision part is concerned for paper 2, you can be more creative and innovative with it. Okay, you can invite your friend perhaps who is also giving UGC NET exam. You can revise together. You can use flashcards, mind maps, visual tools, or maybe gamify it in such a manner that the entire revision process is made more interesting to you. But that's only the later part of the preparation, guys. The initial part of the preparation, you have to focus on paper 1 because it includes a lot of intensive preparation, especially owing to its theoretical topics like people in development, higher education system, environment, ICT, teaching and research aptitude, right? Apart from these theoretical portions, you also need to give time and practice the numerical questions like mathematical and logical reasoning, data interpretation. So in terms of that, what you can do is you can basically first make a list of all the important formulas and then solve some questions to get an idea as to how much you can solve, how much do you need to prepare or give your focus or time to. Right? So these are some of the things that you absolutely need to consider for paper 1. Paper 1 matters a lot, guys, so please don't leave it for the last night. So that's your 30-day roadmap. Is it intensive? Yes. Is it possible? Yes, if you are focused and consistent. Remember, the goal here is not perfection. It is preparation with clarity. You are not expected to be an expert on every topic. Just know what's been asked, what's frequently been asked, and learn how you're going to tackle it. I know it feels like a lot, and honestly, it is. But here's the thing. You can do this, especially if you break it down into manageable chunks. When I was preparing for my UGC NET exam, I was struggling with my master's and internship, so it got pretty overwhelming for me as well. But the secret was consistency. Every day I made some progress, even if it was small, right? So please be consistent, and most importantly, believe in yourself. You've got this. If this video helped you, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more such tips and strategies related to UGC NET English. And please let me know in the comment section below if you're starting your 30-day prep today. Thank you so much for watching till the end. I'll see you in the next one.